Hello everyone! Welcome to a card reading. This is a self-love message for the week of Sunday, February the 5th. We've got a full moon going on this day. We just had Imbolc this past week, which is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So, you know, it's kind of a funny time of year right now. It's been very cold where I live, very cold, but the days are getting longer, which is nice. I know some folks struggle with seasonal depression this time of year. If that's you, I hope that you are finding relief. I hope no matter who you are, whether or not you're struggling this time of year, or if you're like, oh, I love this time of year, I hope that you're finding some times to be nice and cozy, to get some good hibernation in, and, you know, to enjoy this season for what it is. Doing a little bit of a sloppy shuffle here. This is a prototype deck that was like cut and pasted onto index cards with a glue stick, so it doesn't quite handle as smoothly as the professionally printed version will. So we're working with what we've got here. That's why we've got this sloppy shuffle situation going on. I'm actually as curious to see how this turns out as you are. So we're gonna do a little 3-card spread, nothing too crazy. Ooh, all right. This first card is called See Yourself. This card is about our ability to self-validate, essentially. You know, it's not bad to want validation from other people or to look outside yourself for confirmation or for what's going on, like to check your perceptions of things. It is good to check your perceptions of things against something outside of yourself and not just be like completely in your own bubble. At the same time, if you are too reliant on validation from others, then that puts you in a position where you're vulnerable to someone who wants to direct your thinking so that they can manipulate your behavior. So this card really is about our ability to validate our own perceptions of things and to trust our own assessment of situations we're in, and to know for our own self, like how we're showing up, so that someone else can't come along and tell you some things about yourself that maybe are not true, but are designed to try to get you to behave in the way that they want you to, you know? This card is all about that self-validation and being able to balance your self-validation against your external validation as well. This position in the spread is about like the context that we're coming out of. So the fact that this card came up here makes me think that maybe in the past week, have you been like putting too much weight on what someone else is saying about who you are, or allowing someone else to dictate how you're perceiving a situation in your life? It's really important to, you know, be willing to listen to others, but to also have a firm sense within yourself that you can say like, okay, I can trust my own perceptions of these things. I'm wondering if that was challenged for you this week, or if there was something going on where maybe there was like room to get a little more solid on that. This card in the middle, which represents the position in the spread, represents like the main focus area for this upcoming week. This card is called Override Starvation Programs. This is really about any tendencies that we have to sort of deprive ourselves, to feel like as if suffering is a virtue, or as if like we don't really need to have our needs met. Like it's not really good for us to have our needs met, or that, you know, we don't deserve to have all the things we need in life. It is very easy to get that idea from growing up in systems that pretty much exploit everyone and give us the idea that we are not inherently worthy of a dignified life just for existing and being humans. This card is about how we internalize that, and how we need to start looking at the ways where we are willing to cut ourselves off unnecessarily, and to really override that and allow ourselves to have more, you know, there's so many things that we can cut ourselves off from, like connection to other people, having our full range of needs met with like basic things like sleeping and eating and, you know, having good meals, having access. If you don't have access to the things you need, that's not your fault. Like, that's not a starvation program on your behalf, but that is like us living in a context where it's designed to keep people struggling in order to be, you know, profiting the people at the top of the system. So, you know, it's not to say that if you are struggling to access something that you need in your life, that's not to say that, oh, you need to change your mindset, this is all on you. That's total fucking bullshit. Like, all that whole like new age, like capitalistic ideology, I'm not about that at all. And I think that a lot of times people can take it too far, where they say like, oh, if you don't have something you need in life, that's because you had a negative belief that caused you to be in that situation, when really maybe it's just that you were born into fucking capitalism and it's designed to keep a scarcity for the vast majority of people in order to keep us working to create profit for the 1%, right? So the card, it's called Override Starvation Programs. It doesn't mean that it's your fault if you're struggling or if you don't have something you need. It doesn't mean that's something inside of your mindset that you need to fix necessarily. But what it does mean is to pay attention to where we've internalized those messages of like not being worthy, or that we're somehow going to be a better person or more virtuous if we go without having our needs met. And that there's like some virtue in that, or even like some like a ruggedness, like prove how tough you are, that like you don't need, you know, XYZ, whatever the thing is. Like, I don't need to go to the doctor, I don't need to take care of my health, like I'm not vulnerable, I don't need you know, I don't need support in the situation that I'm in. And that, a lot of that is bullshit. Like, you probably do need that stuff. So, and this doesn't mean anything bad or weak about you if you need support of resources from outside yourself. So this thing about overriding starvation programs is about noticing over the next week when you are in situations where you catch yourself thinking like, oh, I can just like forego this need for a while. Like, I don't need this. I don't need nice things, you know, like I don't need to buy myself a sandwich. Like, I'll just wait. Or like, I don't need to, you know, reach out to someone for help. Like, I'll just figure it out by myself. It's about, you know, not staying connected to that belief system that says that you need to have less all the time, because that's bullshit. This final card, the Welcome Lounge. This card is about creating a space inside yourself, like mentally, where you can welcome in aspects of your own self that you might be more accustomed to trying to banish or to push away from yourself. You know, sometimes when we want to be more in a process of integrating those aspects of ourselves, it's kind of hard to know where to start with that, because you're like, okay, I know that I have these parts of myself that I haven't been dealing with very well. I know that I have these parts of myself that I tend to not want to be associated with, that I think are bad or wrong, or that I just don't know how to deal with at all, that I've been trying to banish and like disconnect myself from. And I want to change that pattern, right? Like, I want to bring those parts of myself closer back into me and figure out how to deal with them in a more generative way. But like, I don't really know what that looks like yet, right? This is a good thing about the Welcome Lounge, is because it's kind of an intermediary step where you create a place in your mind where you're like, okay, I know that I don't know what to do with this part of myself yet that I'm challenged by. I know that I don't know how to deal with it appropriately. I know that I don't yet have whatever skills or tools that I need to really deal with it in the way that I want to. And that's okay, because I don't have to have it all figured out in order to take the first step of changing my attitude and saying, you know what? You're allowed to be here, and there's a place for you here. The Welcome Lounge is an intermediary place where you can like bring those parts of yourself in and say, I don't know how to deal with you yet. I know you don't trust me because I've been an asshole to you. and I want to rebuild this, and I don't know how yet, but I'm at least trying to create a gesture that shows you that, like, I'm making a space for you where I want you to be here. So that, it's really interesting that that's coming up as the advice for dealing with starvation programs. You know, it makes me think that there's parts of yourself that have needs that you either have not had the material resources to meet for conditions outside of your control, or maybe that you have been in the habit of really neglect or like negating and undermining and denying those needs because you didn't either have the ability to meet them, so it was either to just pretend that the need's not there at all and banish it, or else maybe you do have the resources, but something in you thinks that it's not right, or that it means something bad about you. If you like have a need for something that you either don't have the resources to meet right now, or that you don't have the will, or something in you that says like, it's not good for me to need this type of support, to need whatever it is that I'm needing. And so you've dealt with that by really trying to sever yourself from the parts of yourself that have those needs, that maybe need like a little bit more assurance, maybe need a little bit more comfort, maybe need someone that can kind of have your back, you know? That's like really, that's what I'm thinking with these two cards coming up together. You know, I think it's really just saying that you need to welcome back in the fact that you have certain needs that you've been wanting to suppress, and welcoming those needs in and allowing them to exist and to be a part of you that you recognize, and to kind of take ownership of them and not just smash them down and try to push them away. That's going to be your first step to being able to then actually meet those needs by reaching out for the resources that you do need, for the support that you do need in meeting those. So, yep, that's the message for this week. I hope that you found it interesting. Let me know. And I'll see you back here next Sunday for another reading.